10 million Michiganders will be informed on October 2nd, 2020. The life form that controls the state, WhitmerNet, sent 2 computers back through time. Their mission? Destroy the records of the nursing home death rate, and to watch Michigan seniors die a slow, painful death. The first computer was programmed to erase all records of the nursing home death rate. It failed. The second was sent to stop an event. As before, the free speech resistance was able to send a lone warrior, an entertainer, to uncover the numbers. A protector. It was just a question of which one would arrive first.
Come with me if you want to learn.
Subject for today.
That's called a late slur.
That was the
because
slur.
I'm chewing gum.
Oh,
are you
really?
Like Thomas
disgust
Hayden
me.
Church and Sideways.
You don't do that.
I'm disgusted with
That's
myself.
so gross.
Remember, this is,
It's on your
You can
desk
see it on
now.
my desk. Who cares? It's my desk. What do you care, Audio Wade?
I care.
You're not my half-Asian lawyer, Bill Richmond.
That's true.
Audio Wade is here.
Hey.
Gerald A is here. Quarter Black Bear
Hey, good
is
morning.
here.
What's up?
We have a lot to be talking about today. We'll be
Yeah,
talking about
so
voter
much.
fraud. We'll be talking about Amy Coney Barrett. We'll be talking about the Supreme Court and John Oliver and why he's a limey prick. Did I tell you, Johnny Boy, who works with us, he was chewing gum when we were doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Really? Yeah.
Were you there? I was like,
That's dangerous.
I was teaching
Yeah.
a strangle.
It does make it easier if he chokes himself out.
I was going, okay, so I'm going to go in here for a bone. Are you chewing gum?
It's just
Spit it out. He's like, well, is it a problem? Yes, it's a problem, you mongoloid.
We're
So,
breathing on each other. What a fresh breath.
by the way, please do consider following me on Instagram because apparently that's where lifestyle stuff happens outside of
really?
the
Okay.
YouTube.
Yeah, you're a thought, man.
And do consider joining up Mug Club at louderwithcutter.com/Mug Club. That's the only reason any of this works to begin with, and we'll be taking your chat afterwards. My question to you is, do you feel like you have a handle on the voter fraud going on? And how do you think they're going to try and block Amy Coney Barrett? I'm surprised they haven't just trotted out a cartoon of her with a bishop hat at this point.
What?
Well, it's the whole
would-
anti-Catholicism, the whole
Well, no, it has to be subtle. Like, we didn't mean all Catholics, just, all Catholics.
Democrats and subtle, that does not go.
And by the way,
yeah.
if you look at this, how they try and disqualify Amy Coney Barrett for the court, that means that no woman could ever be on the Supreme Court.
Oh, okay, yeah.
This came from, I think it was, we'll get to it in New York Times, like, I just don't understand how you could be a Supreme Court justice and a loving mom. Oh, so...
Oh, that argument. Yeah. Oh, okay.
So they must be a
Really?
barren spinster.
and they all want to, demonize all Catholics who are not barred from the communion table.
Right, yes.
Oh,
no,
Yeah, that's
no,
the only.
That's like
Catholic
having a bad
allowed.
NRA rating. It's like a badge of honor. I couldn't take communion, right? Right? I'm one of you.
I don't think Pelosi knows yet. I don't think she understands.
She just won't walk
she
up.
hasn't
She
been
just
there.
isn't
She
going
can't
to.
see through her Hutu tribesman scarf.
Oh, she's left kneeling.
I
Oh,
don't
no.
want to use the word pandering harlot, but
Yeah.
not a fan. But before, let's see what they're talking about on CNN really
do
quickly.
it.
Wisconsin sets new coronavirus case record this weekend.
Oh.
Well, guess what?
Good for them.
That's every day.
That's true.
Because there are more coronavirus cases today than yesterday. And there will likely be more tomorrow, unless there are no new cases. You don't need to count from Sesame Street to do that. None. No new cases. If there's one more, it's a new record. That's the problem. That's the
right,
problem with
yeah,
counting it past flu season
exactly,
and going
yeah.
into the next season. By the way, does anyone have the number? What were the flu deaths this last season? 2019, 2020. Do we have those numbers? They don't exist.
I think zero.
I don't
We
know
conquered
what.
the flu.
Yay!
It's great.
Speaking of pandemics, though, we know that it hasn't been handled perfectly by our
Right, yeah.
Commander-in-Chief, Vice President
It happens,
Donald Trump.
you know.
So there's always the alternative if you feel more confident in This Week in Biden.
Understanding what you may hear about me, I have incredibly good judgment. One, I married Jill. And two, I appointed Johnson to the Academy. I just want you to know that. Just clap for that, you stupid bastard.
That's why I made it a priority my entire career to work closely with you. From the time I got to the Senate 180 years ago,
Oh, that was a great segment, you stupid bastards. Cheer for me, you dumb pricks.
Yeah.
Lavish me with praise, you filthy whores.
I was appointed by Martin Van Buren. You should respect me.
All you barren whores who are unable to bear children, give me praise. Honor me, you dumb bitches.
Yeah.
No, it means
It was
I'm
a
buddies.
joke. It was a goof. That's like the kid who took things way
messing
too
around.
seriously.
Right, exactly.
Where it was like, hey, I heard your mom was so fat that, whatever, I don't know, what was it? She plays pool with the planets. The other kid's like, yeah, I hear your mom had breast cancer and had a mastectomy. You're like, oh my God.
Oh, jeez.
That was
Wow.
way
That's
too far,
dark.
Dustin. He's like, well, you know what? You started it. No, he didn't start that.
Well, you made this
something
point,
else.
but I'm very much looking forward to the Atlantic's full piece on
Yes.
the
Yeah.
Joe Biden
Yeah.
dumb
Do I,
bastards
yes.
comment.
Do I think it was a joke? Sure,
Yeah.
but I think we should take it at face value, just
Right.
like they do with Donald Trump with the losers and suckers, which when I mean face value, I mean anonymous sources as opposed to videotape.
Of course. Yeah. You got to play the game like they say. You know, it's their rules.
There is more proof that Joseph Biden said dumb bastard.
Yes.
Stupid bastard.
Stupid bastard. Not
Stupid.
dumb.
And that's
Hey,
way worse because
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
little kids who are like, he said the S word. I'm like,
yeah.
your brother said shit? They're like, no.
No.
He said stupid. I'm like, that's not even that
stupid.
bad
No,
of
I
a
said
word.
it.
He said stupid bastards. There's more evidence of that than Donald
Yeah.
Trump saying losers and suckers. And by the way, I don't really care. Hey, I want to be clear about this. Do I support our troops? Absolutely. Do I support our military? Of course. Do I believe in a strong military defense? Yes. Do I think that you can support our military without necessarily supporting every single war? Absolutely. Do I think there are some stupid bastards in the military? Well, the odds would say at least
Average.
a couple.
Yeah.
But he didn't know that.
Absolutely.
And
He was-
180 years in the Senate? I don't even know if that's this is the thing with if you cannot tell,
That was a flub.
then that's a problem.
Maybe he could
I
have been
think that was a
joking there,
flub.
but it was bad. So he needed like a warm-up act for the troops. Like there was a very cold reception he was
Yeah.
getting.
Yeah.
It's bad jokes, but he's like, see, I married Jill. Crickets.
Right,
Like,
yeah, exactly.
Uh-oh.
Like, we don't care.
You need to ease into the roast.
Right.
You don't just
Yeah.
bring out DePaulo and Jeff Ross right on the outset.
Exactly.
You need a Rich Little to sort of till the soil a little bit.
Have him do his Reagan.
Yeah, having to do his Reagan. He does a fantastic Reagan. Also, what it would look like if Robert De Niro were like cooking vegetables.
Might look something
Like-
like this.
Oh, the impressions. Okay. Anyway, hey, I don't know. I know you're not. Audio weight is not on audio stats. Does it sound a
That's
little roomy
true.
to you? Is it just me? It could just be me.
Could
It sounds a
be.
little bit roomy.
This is what happens
think he just
when
thrown
you're
around the
really
Joseph
yeah.
Biden. Let's move on to the voter fraud issue. And this is something that, okay, let me be really clear. When people say, hey, there's no evidence of voter fraud at all,
Right.
like when they say there's no evidence of mass voter fraud, those people are either completely uninformed or lying. Now,
Yeah.
there are two issues here as to mail-in voting. And I think that Democrats are real. And I want you guys to be clear on this because
Yeah.
I think that Republicans and conservatives have done a disservice by conflating the issues. And then, of course, Democrats just try and act like it doesn't exist at all, except for the fact that, look at
Right.
black liberal groups and organizations and
Yeah.
even Biden himself voting in person because they realize, oh, crap, mail-in voting doesn't work. And the majority of them are going to be Democrats. We're kind of shooting ourselves in the dick.
Yeah.
And you're like, then why would he say dick? I don't know if he's joking or not. It's Biden. You can never tell. But there are two sides of this issue. There's voter fraud, okay?
Right.
And I want to be clear what we will be talking about today. I've only used examples that have been verified by a judge, an official court, or the state governing body for the election or
Right,
an
yeah.
unbiased commission. So there are hundreds of examples that you can find that are not included here, but these are ones that that wouldn't be in dispute. Two sides to this.
You wouldn't think.
There's voter fraud,
Yeah.
right? Happens outright fraud. And then a bigger side of the issue, but is separate, is the fact that we have a mail-in system that is just not functional, is just not equipped or designed to deal with an election of this scale. Those are two sides of the issue. The voter fraud side of the issue occurs to the tune of, as you'll see, thousands of verified votes, which is the margin of error, more so
Yeah.
in swing states, 500 something
absolutely,
in
yeah.
Florida with the Bush-Gore election.
Right.
And then the processing issues number in the hundreds of thousands to millions. Undeniable, completely verifiable. We'll walk you through it. Anyone who says otherwise is either misinformed, that's most likely, or lying, or Brian Stelter. So,
That's a third category.
Send him this link.
He won't read it.
before I get
reliable.
to the empirical, sir, this gum is really going to... that is fossilizing.
Oh, why'd you?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
Nah,
gonna
keep
mess up the
gross.
finish.
It is.
used to swallow that
gross.
stuff.
Let's start with the anecdotal. So this happened this morning. I haven't been able to verify this, but Project Veritas had a new video on voter fraud
Yeah.
occurring
pretty good.
in the favorite pirate representative, Ilhan Omar's district. Here you go.
numbers don't lie numbers don't lie waa ujeedaan
But you
gaarigaygu waa
do.
buuxaa waxaas waa absan baalet salkaa yaala soo ma jeedin fiiri waxaasoo dhan soo ma jeedin waa buuxa gaarigaydi waa buux ka yaala waxaas kulli waa Jamaal Cusmaan way fiiri 300 kaliya maanta soo dhacday oo Jamaal Cusmaan yeah.
There was video. You can see the video. There was a video out and about that he has the ballots in his car. Right. And talking about the only way you can win is with money. I was looking at them and they were not filled. They were blank.
Who is the one filling out the absentee ballots? People who work with, like, Han Omar.
No, I know. On the surface, that would look pretty bad.
Sure.
Yeah. Beneath the surface, it's horrible.
Also bad. Yeah.
It gets worse.
Ugly is skin deep and deeper, actually.
Yeah.
It's like
In
a
this
far
case, yeah.
infrared beam that goes below the epidermis, which should be enough. Now, that being said, this is obviously, a lot of these were like Somali retirees, so I don't know that it really was affecting the outcome of the vote.
I mean, maybe.
With a foregone conclusion.
I am the captain now.
It's like, I can't write in English. You fill in ballot for me. All right, fine. Vote for Sakaleka Mahalava. Who's that? Me. You sure you don't want to vote for Ilhan Omar? No. Okay. All right. I'm going to take these from you. I'll take these off your hands. And can you let me know where the Veterans Hospital is? I'd like to throw theirs in a ditch. So we'll get to that in a second. That actually happened.
Right. That's fine.
And over the weekend, of course. No, let me show you this too. This is anecdotal.
Yeah.
This happened with a friend of mine, so I want to be clear. A friend of mine received these ballots, and all of personal identification has been removed here. You can bring this overlay up there, token on. Ballots, a voter registration card for his dad, who not only hasn't lived at that house, but hasn't been alive for several decades.
Oh, okay.
Now, I know you'll say, well, what's the big deal? It won't be accepted. Actually, he could just put in a signature that looks like his dad's signature, and there could be voting twice, which has happened again to the tune of thousands, where you look at Georgia, Pennsylvania. Yikes. So this is something that happened with and I expect, I've received some mail for the previous resident at my house that at the very least is a gross violation of privacy where I could have screwed with their lives. But I don't know if I've gotten any voter cards yet, but I'll check with my wife. Because she checks the mail because one time I found a spider.
Like a wide swath
Steven's
around
not
that
the spider-killing husband. Okay, I don't know if anybody didn't
reached
notice.
in and there was a spider that went, and they're always when they're going down because it's like it's very predatorial. It's the stuff that nightmares are made of. So my wife checks the mail. She doesn't mind spiders. If we go into a scenario where we know there will be snakes, I handle it. That situation has not arisen yet.
Snake spider.
Okay, so you traded snakes and spiders.
Snakes and spiders.
All right, that's fine.
Yeah.
You're a pansy.
It's fair. Wow. It's called an equitable arrangement, Mr. Mom.
It's true. It's very true.
And that film does not hold up.
No, it does not.
Okay, so let's talk. And then they're talking about taxes on CNN, Donald Trump, which we'll get to in a little bit. But let's continue talking about the voter fraud, because I know I mentioned that people who tell you there is no evidence of mass voter fraud or errors, I want to include both of those, are misinformed or lying. And with our favorite straight CNN host in chief, it's Take Your Guess. Here is Mr. Stelter.
Americans are not hearing Trump lie about voter fraud every day, but his biggest supporters are. They are hearing it all the time. And he's been telling ghost stories about voter fraud all year long. He has used the word rigged dozens of times, the word ballots hundreds of times. He did it again just 1 hour ago.
You son of a bitch. How could he's using the word ballots.
We said it hundreds of times.
Listen, we have a president with no respect for American cultural. Do you want a commander-in-chief who says the word ballots?
It's an election year. Of course he's going to use the word ballots.
And he did it 1 hour ago.
Also, we checked.
Oh my gosh.
He used the word vote 4,452 times.
And then black people should be free to vote unhindered. Oh
and
gosh, that's actually
I don't want to
good.
pay any more nuisance money. My God, with the nuisance money. Sweetheart, if you're watching, my wife, make sure I don't pay any nuisance money.
My actual woman wife.
Okay, let's go through a couple of things here. There's a big difference between absentee and what we're talking about with mail-in voting.
Yes.
This year, this election, there will be 44.2 million people who get unsolicited ballots, meaning people who will get ballots who did not request them. That is very different from absentee ballots in most states. And it varies from state to state, but this is now a blanket rule. And of course, you have different states now who are extending the deadlines past the elections for the processing. My solution is really simple at this point. Hey, all right, you want to do mail-in voting? Fine. If it can't be counted and processed by election, we're done. That's it.
Yeah.
You have
By
time
election
now.
day,
Just do it.
Just got it
do
in.
it. You should know. If you are too incompetent to fill out a return envelope that is already basically, I think it's pre-stamped, if I'm not mistaken. I have no idea.
Well,
I don't know the last time I bought a stamp. It was at a furniture store.
I think you have to stamp them.
And from what I understand, it has to be postmarked by midnight on election day. That's in most states. That's an insane system.
This
so
is
going to
be
wait
a very long
ridiculous.
election stream
right.
for us.
Yeah, it's like 2.5 weeks long.
I have no interest in doing that.
Can we get a live camera on the stamper right there?
Yeah.
We'll give you almost the results.
So 44.2 million. Now let's go to states here, examples of active fraud. Okay, that has occurred. And then we'll get to the errors. So active fraud. Let's go to the wonderful state of Pennsylvania, swing state. A mail sorter, this is the one you've heard about recently, threw Trump ballots in the trash. There were 9 military ballots that were found. They were just discarded in Pennsylvania. 7 of them were for Trump. 2 were unknown. This is just what we found. Do you have any idea how easy it would be to do that? Do you have any idea how incompetent the Postal Service is? They've posted losses for 13 years. You're complaining about Donald Trump writing off losses as a business owner? Your taxpayers fund a business that would do better if they didn't use the wheel.
They set out several logs and just roll the trucks.
Right.
Yeah. Old Egyptian system.
Just use email.
There's just some guy with a beard in Rapids with a log. All these letters to Santa Claus.
I'd pay to see that.
All right. Texas. Let's go to the wonderful state of Texas that the polls are now saying are a toss-up state. In case you wondered if the polls were designed to manipulate public opinion rather than reflect them. Texas. Attorney General there has brought 134 felony charges. Wow. 134 over widespread voter fraud. Now, there are no examples.
None.
That's
zero. Except for those 134.
I'd hate to make a claim that would force me to pay nuisance money. Georgia, the good old state of Georgia, some would say significant in the election.
Yeah.
Secretary of State Brad, I want to make sure I'm not getting this wrong, Brad Raffensperger. At what point, at some point you go with a Hollywood name, just like Brad Cruz.
You do. Pretty close.
Brad Steele.
Rafton.
Pick the first street you lived on. 1,000 residents voted twice in the state's June 9th primary. 1,000 some residents.
Vote early, vote often.
That's a lot of
No
votes.
examples. New Jersey. This is one I love. A judge even ruled and ordered a new election because a sitting city councilman was charged with fraud. Over 800 ballots could not be counted because there was active fraud from someone who was already in government. Which is always remarkable to me, by the way, when people talk, you think about the Rock against Bush, you think about the rage against the machine. But all of a sudden, these people who rage against the machine, their rebels are encouraging trusting the government, already elected officials, and a giant government bureaucracy in the Postal Service with your vote. Is there anything less rebellious than rocking the mail-in vote for Pelosi?
Wow.
Think about that for a second.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you know what? Maybe voting for Joseph Biden.
Man,
we're going to destroy the system by voting for the guy who has done nothing but work in the system for 50 years, has hair plugs, and doesn't know where he is half the time.
180 years. That's from the source.
See my Che shirt for reference.
Man.
By the way, hit the notification bell if you are watching this because subscriptions don't mean a whole lot on YouTube. And if you hit the notification, you get notified on your mobile. And of course, our audio podcast is available on Spotify, Apple, and Android. Before we move on to the actual widespread, although I would think that the many thousands that we just listed, the many millions of examples of widespread voter processing errors, it seemed like you had
exactly. So in MIT, this far right-leaning institution, right?
Yeah.
MIT actually came out with a study about the 2008 election race. 3.9 million ballots that were requested or mailed out never arrived. 2.9 million.
That's a good record for the Postal Service.
Yeah, exactly. 2.9 million for whatever reason were never returned. So let's just say they just decided not to vote. But 800,000 people's ballots were invalidated either for being late, for not being filled out correctly, for not having a signature. I think stamps are an issue sometimes. That is massive. If you're talking about wanting everybody's vote to count, having them do it by mail is the absolute worst possible way and we've known this for decades. That's why we don't do it in mass. Some people have done it and they've worked with private industry for years to figure out a system.
If you want mail-in voting to work, have it done by FedEx.
And this is why the death rates and this is why the numbers matter for coronavirus, because this is all done on the pretense that this is all in response to some crazy epidemic that just is killing everybody everybody who walks out of their house, but it's just not the case. And then, that's why they're trying to push the mail-in voting thing.
Right, and it's the dumbest thing ever. You brought it up. Typically, it impacts people who are voting Democrat more than Republican. Like, if you're like, hey, what is the worst thing?
On the E-lay, because they might be listening lay.
Oh, I think it's too 8-lay.
Yeah, that's true. I don't understand. It's never too late to screw with Democrats. I think it was 4 million people requested or are getting mail-in ballots or said they would vote by mail. I'm not exactly sure how it works because you don't have to request them now.
Yeah.
And I was surprised because a lot of Republicans were getting nervous saying, 2.4 million, I believe, are coming from Democrats and 1.6 million from Republicans. Going, hold on, considering how often Republicans talk about voting in person, how important it is to them, I was surprised that it wasn't 0.0 million Republicans.
Right.
So 1.6 is not that bad. And voter registration is up in Donald Trump's key demographics and down in the ones that are key Democrat demographics. And it's interesting that you see now the pivot. We're like, you should vote by mail in person as if you can vote early, just in person.
Get out there,
in person.
Just do it early and wear your mask.
Yeah, it's your patriotic duty to brave the coronavirus. Now that's going to be the pivot. Like, this is too important to stay home.
This is too
You've got to go out.
Do your part.
It is your duty. But I know my duty. I've been working I've been in the Senate for 180 years. But I would give him the benefit of the doubt if he wasn't crazy.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when an old person says something absolutely racist.
Yeah.
You're like, well, hold on a second. I'm not sure if that was a joke because they're 95 and it didn't really have a punchline.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if he was joking saying he'd been in government in 180 years because there was no setup, punchline. He just continued like nothing had happened.
And it wasn't funny.
And there was no intent there.
Yeah.
Old people say racist things typically because they're often racist.
Yeah, I think maybe that's the brilliance of Joe Biden. We just don't know anymore. We can't really tell if he's joking, if he screwed up, if the prompter was wrong, if he just forgot where he was.
He's the Tony Clifton of presidential candidates.
It's 4D chess.
I'm so
it is 4D
ashamed
chess.
that my country has come to this. All right, let's go to the mail-in now. Those were the examples of outright fraud.
Right.
Okay, so I want you to send this. If anyone says there are no examples, well, we just listed 4 or 5. Now let's go to the mail-in process not working. And it shouldn't be surprising.
Yeah.
Right.
If you understand that the mail-in is run by government.
Well, that.
Although we hate the police, right? We want to defund the police because we believe that unions, we believe that police unions protect bad cops. Well, let me ask you this. What do you think happens to bad postal workers? Have you ever tried to fire one? It's not possible.
They just keep coming back.
I had a friend who worked. He's like, "There's no way. You just put them in a break room forever until retirement."
Yeah, it's like teachers. Same thing.
It's just a life of nothing but backgammon and tuna fish sandwiches, and they get. It's almost the UAW level of non-workers per retiree.
Jeez.
All right. So the mail-in process. Let's go to California, the sunny state of California. More than 100,000 ballots were rejected in an election.
Whoops.
Now, recently, I think this was last election or a primary. I don't have the exact year in front of me. And here's the thing. Yeah, I want to be clear. Most of them were because people missed the deadline. But that's not an issue here because we don't know if there's a deadline. It depends on.
Well, there is.
Depends when the cutoff. It depends how the votes are coming in and which county. So in Michigan, the deadline is going to be once Wayne County, Detroit comes in, and we
done.
No more Western Michigan or Northern Michigan. With California, once San Francisco, that's the only deadline we care about. Then cut it off.
Yeah.
What about Temecula? I don't give a shit about Temecula. It's San Francisco is the deadline, folks. So a lot of them missed the deadline. But 27,000 in California were rejected because the signatures didn't match the voter or just didn't have any signature at all.
Yeah.
Think about that for a second. Didn't match the voter.
But nobody's doing this on purpose.
I mean, has anyone here ever forged their own like sick notes from their parents or doctors when you were a kid and you missed school? I don't know. They're going to do Oppo research on me and like claim that's a felony. Listen,
it's on his permanent record.
I signed myself an absentee slip as my dad or Dr. Grombois. It's not. I mean, I didn't shoot. I didn't beat up a cop.
Right.
That we
didn't run a car with a dead body already in it.
All right, New York. 6 weeks after the election, this recent one, the 2 congressional seats, they still hadn't been decided. So that's an interesting one. Then here's something else in New York. There could be 250,000 voters in New York who could just be illegal or using false social security numbers because of the recent law that they voted in to get a driver's license where you can use foreign documentation. Foreign documentation for a driver's license. You remember this. When I went to the DMV here, I had 2 pieces of picture ID, my birth certificate, but they used to tell you, tear up your social security number. So I brought in my tax returns, and they said, well, we can't accept it. And I said, well, that's your tax ID number. I said, it's you called it that. You called it. It's
the same
clearly
number.
just put it in the machine there that says social security number and put in the number that is the exact same amount of numbers as a social security number. Like, don't you have the ability to just pop in my social security number and see if it's me? And they said, we can't do that here at the DMV. Would you like us to handle your elections?
Check the box if you're satisfied.
I had to have someone who worked here go and
Are
bring
you
me.
serious?
My wife managed to find my social security number. I think it was hidden in a gun safe.
Yeah, well, what about this? What if we had, 250,000? What if we said 250,000 Russians are going to be able to vote in New York? Are you guys cool with that? I mean, you think you think the election interference sparked 250,000 votes for Donald Trump? Let's just say that across the nation. Carry that out into Texas, into California. We know Texas is somewhere just under 100,000.
Right.
In California, there are claims of 400,000 roughly, right? I can't substantiate it because it's just a claim, of 400,000 people that have the ability to vote that are not residents of the United States.
Yeah.
Period.
And again, the margin of victory in Florida was what, 537 for Bush over Gore.
Yeah, and I think
that
the swing
decided the election, or at least it was a huge part of it.
I think in some of the swing states too, it's a very close margin of victory. I think it was like 80,000 combined votes that he won by in a couple of swing states that basically determined the election. So where's the line for mass? They're like, oh, there's no widespread voter fraud. Where's your line?
Yeah, what
does it take? Millions?
I draw the line. Intent matters here.
Yeah.
So I draw the line at intentionally. 5. But now that we have over 500,000, intention sort of goes out the window. Incompetence takes over, which is, also the same reason I have a problem with Joe Biden becoming president. I want to be clear. There's intent and there's incompetence. There's intent, voter fraud. We have those examples. And then there's incompetence, which is pretty much many government agencies.
Yeah. Well, what about just throwing them away? Just the guy, you talked about it, 7 of those votes. That's only 7. And Jake Tapper and CNN came on and said this was clearly a mistake, an administrative mistake. How? A person that was hired threw them in the trash. How is that a glitch in the system? Like, what the hell kind of argument is that? Somebody knowingly threw votes away for Donald Trump.
It became a hobo's heroin vomit sock.
Yes. Jeez, are you serious?
Out loud.
That's not an administrative mistake, okay?
It's just some homeless guy who has no arms or legs on a skateboard with his nubs who's using it to blow his nose. Hey, that's how we found it. He's like, can you blow my nose? I can't reach. I'm like, these are ballots. Really?
Yeah, I've used them before. They work great.
Wow. That's very absorbent.
I love the paperweight.
Aloe. Oh.
Yeah, and like you said, the numbers really matter, and we are going to be, of course, in Michigan on October 2nd. That's Friday at noon, the rally in Lansing, for the senior death toll. We are going to be talking about the policy proactively that has led to the deaths of many, many seniors in Michigan and how you've been misled, and we have some exclusive information that we're still waiting on right now, but it takes a while because freedom of information requests from the government. Sometimes they take a long time. Also, when you have a little authoritarian governor who doesn't think she has to honor those requests during a pandemic, well, then she just doesn't.
Oh, you know how it is.
Yeah,
that's not a good thing.
Then we also have Virginia. Sorry, final state here. 1,000 some voters received 2 mail-in ballots. Now I don't know if they actually voted twice, like the other ones that we can. Just they received.
They
2.
could have.
So your guess is as good as mine. But we have a problem with Donald Trump joking about vote twice to see. We don't have a problem with 1,000 people actually being able to vote twice. Think if you were to measure the sort of the price tag on a vote. Okay, let's say this is a little mental exercise. And you know what? Bloomberg did put a price tag on it.
He did.
It's the felony fines. I don't know what the average is, but I assume it's a few $100s. If you were to put a price tag, would you say it's more than $10,000 over 3,000 ads, which is the entirety of the Russian the Russian interference in the last election?
Yeah, exactly.
We're not even getting to the billions of dollars of manipulated search results from big tech, Google, Alphabet, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Just how many votes? What is a vote worth?
Exactly.
How much do you think, if they would never be caught, how much do you think a politician would pay for a vote to guarantee them an election, particularly in a swing state like Pennsylvania? What, $3?
Yeah.
Because if it's $3, if it's $4, if it's $10, it's more than all of Putin's minions combined from the KGB running clickbait ads on Facebook. So I just want to be clear when we talk about interference in our election. This is the problem. The same problem that we have with the media is not the lies that you see proactively, but the lies by omission. That's why I don't have a problem with Maddow. People say, well, why don't you talk about Maddow? I don't care about Maddow. Listen, You know what you're getting from an MSNBC lesbian who looks like a 12-year-old boy. You know exactly what you're getting. I don't say, listen, she goes in and gets the Princeton to the barber shop. She goes in and says, give me the Princeton that used to be the number 3. So my point is, you know what you're getting. When you have Brian Stelter, who every day goes out there, well, every time he does a show, it's once a week because work ethic. So he goes out and he says, this is the importance of the media when you have Donald Trump trashing the media. Yeah, listen, the only institution that Americans trust less than they did 4 years is the media, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. You've said that none of these examples exist.
Yeah, and you call Donald Trump a liar every time he brings up the fact that this could lead to widespread voter fraud. If you want your vote counted, don't do it. Like every single time you're like, there's no evidence of this, sir. Every time he just goes and lies. And he said ballots again.
He said ballots.
Over 100 times.
He said it. He said ballots.
It's like his word of the day. Yeah.
Well, Stelter, he only has time for one show a week because the rest of the week he's having straight sex with his female wife.
Yeah. Also, I shouldn't say this on air, but I have many bitches on the side. Sorry, sweetie, you had to find out that way. I have a voracious straight sex appetite.
Female.
You need to go to therapy.
Oh my gosh.
The only thing that gets me more excited than another woman is maybe a kangaroo because they have 3 vaginas.
Oh, Bob.
What? 3 is better than
Oh my God.
3 is better than none.
I don't understand this.
Wait,
Do they actually?
Dave Landau was telling me about
not
that.
true. It
They have
can't be
3.
true.
I didn't watch that episode
I have
of Magic
no
School
idea. I
Bus.
cannot verify those. All the other sources,
Dave.
all the other sources that I provided for you, I'll vouch for. I don't know about the kangaroos, or to be honest, Mr. Stelter's daily sexual.
You're right.
goals.
Sure. Should have no
Can't
idea.
speculation.
But really quickly, I do want to let you guys know not only are we doing the Michigan stream, but we are doing, of course, the live debate stream tomorrow night,
gosh.
Tuesday. I believe. When does it start there, Token? Do we know if it starts at 8:30 Eastern?
When does it start?
8:30 Eastern.
8:30 Eastern, and we're actually going to have Ted Cruz on the stream.
right.
Over
Wow.
a pre-show interview with our
Senator
predictions
Ted
for the stream.
Cruz.
Senator Ted Cruz, looking forward
Whoa.
to that.
It's a big
And
one.
as well, I need to talk about our wonderful sponsor, Even Brendan, come in here and model for Black Rifle Coffee.
Hey.
Delicious coffee. I had some this morning.
Come on
You can go to
in.
blackriflecoffee.com/Crowder. You get
There it
20% off your first order.
off, man. That's
Model it.
awesome.
There you go.
Whoa.
Oh, he's just
2
in his
bags.
jeans. Wow. Turn toward the
Yeah.
camera. It's that camera right
over
there.
There we
Yeah,
go.
there you go.
How do you like? Which one's your favorite there, Even Brendan?
Probably Silencer Smooth.
Yeah.
Sounds
Why?
like
What do you like
that
about
one.
it? Get out of here.
Do you like how
That's
smooth
enough.
it is?
He has no idea what
Silence.
he's talking about.
Silencer.
I can tell that person's not caffeinated.
He's just lucky he's not getting shot.
And we do have an interview, by the way, with Doug
Yeah.
Knaple. That's
We do,
going to
yeah.
be coming up, I believe, next week. I just want to let you know because his Kickstarter,
That's
he's
right.
obviously the author and creator of Earthworm
Yeah.
Jim. He has
That's
this
right.
new
Okay.
graphic novel out.
So that's
He's
the
got
first
Bigfoot
one.
Bill over there.
That's the first one.
Yeah, this is Bigfoot Bill.
Yeah.
This was his most recent one. But yeah, Earthworm Jim 2
Earthworm
has
Jim
3
number
days.
2.
3 days left on the campaign.
On the
so-
campaign
Oh, wow. Okay.
Kickstarter. So we had to pre-tape an interview with him because of the travel to Michigan, but we couldn't get it up before his Kickstarter was finished. We are going to get to John Oliver here now.
no.
And
Really?
some of his
Do we have to?
Son of a gun.
ACB comments. Don't you love that people... What were you about
But
to
before you go, I don't know if we said that if you go to blackriflecoffee.com/Crowder, 20% off the first order. Did you
say?
say
That was
that?
the first thing I said.
I'm the worst.
That was.
I'm so
I
sorry.
mean, it doesn't hurt
That
to
was
say
like
it again.
my
Just a
level
reminder.
of bad.
Listen, it's one of those things,
It's
like if you
good
drink
coffee.
coffee, just drink the better coffee. It's
Yeah.
fresh roasted. It's better than the coffee you're drinking. You're chock full of crap.
Oh,
Your Maxwell poop.
You
How-
get 'em.
Ah,
get him there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I interrupted.
It's
your
better
point.
than that. It's chock. Chock full of nuts wishes they could be chock full of Black Rifle coffee.
Oh, they
Chock
do.
full of coffee.
They
Wishes
Might
they
as
could
well.
be chock- No, but it's better and it's veteran. You don't
Only
care about
nuts
it
in
being.
my
A
coffee.
lot of you don't care if it's veteran-owned, operated with some profits going to veterans' causes. It's just better coffee. Listen, I just said that's the only.
Yeah.
It's better coffee. Sometimes people say like, "Why do you have limited sponsorships?" Because most sponsors suck. Do you have
Yeah,
any
they
idea
do.
how many
Honestly, yeah.
supplement companies reach out to me like, "Will you advertise this?" I'm like, well, let me see. Is it NSF certified? Like, do I know that what's in there? Is it like, well, we don't want to pay for that. Well, I don't want you to pay on my show. Oh,
Why not?
No.
all right. We'll go find some ass model on Instagram.
They're cheap.
Yeah, they are cheap.
They're
Dime a dozen.
everywhere.
And worth every penny.
No.
Okay. So John Oliver right now is, I don't want to say making the rounds. It's tough for me to debunk John Oliver like we used to do rebuttals because the arguments are really thin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
not a lot of there.
Actually, before we get to John Oliver, you wanted to talk about Donald Trump's
Yeah,
taxes.
so
I don't. Let me
I
be
know
clear.
you don't.
I don't give a rat's ass about this because
Yeah.
it was like Geraldo Rivera opening Capone's tomb.
For sure. Exactly.
Like, oh my gosh, you mean a business owner lost money
Oh,
for
no.
several? Oh, what a freaking nightmare!
I know. Well, I hate that it's going around like it's some bombshell story. I'm like, you guys have really lost all perspective on what a bombshell story is. Just quickly, people
Also,
look,
not bombshell stories are when actual bombshells go off.
Exactly. That's not the same. How much capital did most people risk last year when they got it?
Well, hold on, let's be clear about this because people are making the argument. They're saying that, Donald Trump paid less in taxes. I saw this tweet. Donald Trump paid less in taxes than some kid working at McDonald's for 40 hours a week. Well, how much did that kid invest in R&D?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it was in 2016 that Hillary Clinton said Donald Trump doesn't want you to see his tax returns because that'll show that he hasn't paid anything in tax. And then he's like, well, that makes me smart.
Right.
So, I'm a businessman.
So it's a breaking news story that somebody paid the legal amount of taxes that they owed, right? They use the tax system that is there. And also, by the way, I don't know if you guys know this, but Joe Biden uses the exact same scheme. He has an S-Corp that basically prevents him from having to pay Medicare and Social Security and saves him $500,000.
Not
that
a
is
year.
verifiable in a year.
In a year?
For the
How does that
business
happen?
profits
With
that they had
his
run, the
salary?
business profits that they had run
that's
through
right.
an S-Corp.
I always forget that politicians also make business money.
Yes, on the side.
And there are no insider trading laws.
Exactly. So, and Joe Biden actually came out and said that this was a loophole and that it should be closed. And it's like, oh, by the way, and I'm using it until it is.
Right.
Like, why is somebody going out and using the tax code, an illegal thing now, and it's something that we should all
my
applaud?
point is not only that, I don't want to get into using the tax. I think the tax code should be simplified. My issue is they're banking on dumb. They're banking on dumb Americans who don't understand what it is to run a business. Do you have any idea how many years I made nothing? Now that doesn't mean that there wasn't hundreds of thousands of dollars that you had to generate that you had to pay out to create websites, to build a studio. People don't understand that. Just revenue coming in doesn't mean net profit. That happens all the time. Let me ask you this. For someone who says, oh my gosh, I can't believe that a business owner would pay less than I do. How many of you have ever paid out 6 or 7 figures to employees annually? Okay, how many of you have ever had to do that? And if you haven't, then you may not have a firm grasp as to what a business owner has to do with their taxes. How many years have you had to borrow money just to invest in inventory so that you could maintain the business for the next quarter? Do you realize that that's a huge percentage of American businesses? They have to borrow money just to acquire inventory.
Big risk. Absolutely. And then you have to pay taxes in most states on that inventory before it sells. Can you imagine that? You have to pay taxes on something you haven't even sold yet that is just part of stuff that they take from you. And by the way, those years that you didn't make money,
selling my vote.
They shouldn't tax that. That should be tax free.
The tax man always gets the better end. He's always there with his hand out.
Well, it just shows me that people have no understanding of how the tax system is designed, and it's not necessarily a bad thing because I am incentivized to go out and risk my capital to get a job created that pays you.
Well,
that's
my
the
issue
thing.
is there are a lot of people who don't. The media does, and they're hoping that you don't, and so they lie about it. So it's very clear. It's a non-issue for anyone who has ever run a business or understands someone who has run a business. Even if you're, for example, a career politician who uses your hot tips to create an immensely profitable business at the expense of the taxpayer. So the point is, it's been, who cares? All right. John Oliver did a recent video here, or segment. I don't know what you call it. Is it a show anymore at this point?
I don't think so. Are there paid people to laugh at it still?
Is it a show? Does it count?
And people have been getting mad about Notorious ACB shirts being sold.
I love it.
Hey, you stole that from Notorious RBG. Yes. Did she coin it?
It was stupid then and stupid now.
Really? Hold on a second. Notorious RBG was the original Biggie?
Before Biggie was Biggie.
My gosh, that's like Amy Schumer getting mad that someone stole her bit she stole from Ellen DeGeneres.
Yeah. How dare you steal something I stole? Oh my gosh. I love it. I think anything that pisses Democrats off is really fun for me right now.
All right, so John Oliver has been responding to the nomination from Notorious ACB. You know what? I don't even like the nickname, but I like that you hate it.
Gotta do it.
And he tried to make these arguments that there are two situations, there are two factors here that make this nomination just completely unfair. Yeah. And this is an example with John Oliver, and I do think John Oliver can be very funny, an example of John Oliver saying things that are exactly the things that I have been saying, only I guess he doesn't understand them because he says something. I go, well, yeah, exactly. And then he thinks that makes his case if you just let him say that phrase and didn't let him follow up to justify his case,
Yeah.
you would immediately become a conservative. So let me give you an example of that. The first, he says that this is unfair and his claim that Mitch McConnell is determined to confirm judges, and he goes to an example of this is just so you know, this is the most substantial point that I could find in the video as to why it would be unfair to nominate ACB.
And McConnell's willingness to go to the mat for judicial appointments was perhaps never more obvious than during the Kavanaugh hearings, because immediately after Christine Blasey Ford's gut-wrenching testimony, McConnell apparently had this conversation with the president.
Both of them were kind of testing each other a little bit. Where are you at on this? You know, how strong are you? And McConnell basically says to the president, "You don't worry about me. I'm strong as mule piss." That's his quote. "I'm strong as mule piss."
I love that quote.
In other words, he's not going to let up. He's not going to
imagery.
give up. He's not going to surrender.
Wow, that is extraordinary. Because it's easy to forget that after Blasey Ford's testimony, Kavanaugh's confirmation felt a lot less certain. And to react to what she said with, "Don't worry, I'm strong as mule piss," is both horrendous and deeply weird.
First off, I think it's deeply awesome. I like when a politician speaks straight from the hip. I like when she says, "I don't know what you guys do going down to your old Ebbets Grill in the Beltway Swamp, but here we know a thing or two about moose piss." So I
Is it like strong as like the smell of moose piss, like the stream
It's
of
mule
I'm
piss.
sure it is
Not
gotta
moose
be.
piss.
Excuse me.
I
I'm
guess
sorry.
they get dehydrated very easily.
That's probably it.
Yeah.
Something about electrolyte imbalance.
It smells very
gotta
acidic.
be
But
very
also,
tough.
keep in mind, he also just said, we felt as though Kavanaugh's confirmation was much more. We felt. Well, no, that's exactly the point. You were saying after Christine Blasey Ford, we felt. And the good thing is, we found out that it was untrue. For example, many people felt disgusted at the idea of Kavanaugh being a gang rapist, which was verifiably false. It turned out it was actual collusion to just try and have this guy blocked.
He
So
lies.
his argument there is, can you believe that McConnell was talking about moose piss when this false charade was going on? It's amazing to me.
Yeah.
Like, do you think-
Extraordinary.
do you think people on the left, this is my question, do you think they actually think that Kavanaugh is a gang rapist still?
Of course,
That's a
I
good
think so.
question.
You think they believe that?
I really do. I think.
Oh, come on.
No, I'm serious. I think that
we
the
can't
people
paint them all with a brush of
No.
Mongoloid.
But some of them, I would say, the people that were against it are saying, no, he's still a rapist on the court. I think they keep referring back to him as though that story is still true. Like, we didn't find out this was all false. Like, they just paused on that story.
It's remarkable. to me.
Wasn't the Blasey Ford thing that he like grabbed her and then fell asleep?
Something like
I don't
that.
remember the whole
yeah.
details
Her
of the
thing was
story.
like he tried to rape her, but he didn't. But then other people were like, this is when it was Me Too. Quite literally was like, Me too. Well, what happened with you? He ran a train on me with guys in Illuminati masks. Like, how many? How far can you count?
Well, he may have passed me a drink at some point.
it was
Maybe,
just-
I
it
don't
was
know.
And the only reason, oh my God, I've started keeping a diary since. The only reason that the guy was not indicted was because he had kept a diary like Doug for his entire life, and there was enough evidence of the diary being verified in other instances from outside events and accounts. Who would have thought that he was saved by a diary?
Yeah, exactly. You mean there wasn't a page in there that says ran a train on poor unsuspecting woman tonight while the fun had some beers after? There wasn't like that entry.
And you know what? Typically a serial killer like a Jeffrey, I know people say, well, some of them have kept diaries. First off, I cannot verify that, but I assume they only do it so they can read back their crimes with that thrill. They weren't like, ate smoked salmon today.
Yeah.
Wasn't as good as last week. Might try a new place Tuesday. You know what I mean? So it was like, I ate a guy's face and I was erect. Like, that's like dumber. Whereas Kavanaugh, it was just riddled with like, we had a party today. I met a cheerleader. If I'm lucky, she may let me hold her hand.
Yeah.
And it's like, omitted from all of this is gang rape.
Yeah, serial gang rapist.
So I don't know if John Oliver believes it, but if he does, then you can't trust anything he says because he can't be bothered hiring a researcher because COVID takes its toll on everybody.
It does.
It does, yeah.
And by the way, as far as the precedents, precedent, I think both would apply in this instance. The Senate didn't hold public confirmation hearings for the first 127 years.
Yeah.
This is a very new thing. And again, the case could be made that, you know what? We thought, hey, a public hearing might be, until you falsely accused a man of gang rape.
Yeah.
The most, yeah. And
It's
again,
like you get your privileges taken away now. No. You didn't finish your dinner, so you don't get your dessert. No. You don't get any more public hearings when you fabricate stories of gang rape.
Right.
the most boring, straight-laced guy in the world, gang rapist.
Yeah, it's like,
Because he likes beer.
I feel like they overshot. Yeah.
Poor guy. That's how you know it's not true. And like, hey, are you a gang rapist? No, I'm not. Do you drink beer on Tuesdays?
Look, I like beer.
I have a follow-up.
What does that mean, Booker? I have no idea.
I like beer. He was a little vocal on that one.
He's like, I'm not going to back down from this. I like beer.
But there is a silver lining here.
There is.
Many Democrats have already said that they're going to boycott the hearings and they have no interest in meeting with ACB.
Well, that's their job.
Your wishes are command.
Oh, okay. Bye.
You don't need to show up.
Yeah. You don't
And
need
especially
you.
not if you're going to accuse her of gang rape.
What's your relationship like with alcohol?
And by the way, this is something else. Another reason that obviously we don't need to host these public hearings.
Yeah.
She's already been with Barrett. This isn't the case with all nominees. It was 2017. I want to make sure I get that date right. Yeah, 2017 when she was confirmed to the Seventh Circuit, and she went through incredibly lengthy hearings.
Yeah.
For a very. I'm about to be redundant. Incredibly lengthy hearings for a very long period of time.
It was crazy.
They were lengthy. It was take what you would normally think is an average duration, and it was more than that.
It was hugely more.
But lengthy public hearings. So this stuff has already been done, and we'll get to the only arguments they have left for those who are Mug Club members, which are actually hysterical. I didn't know that adopting black children made one a racist.
It really does.
It's a colonizer.
My eyes have been opened now.
You should not do it. I know you've been thinking about it. Don't do it.
It's a bad thing.
And then the only I don't know. So you are Mexican.
Yes.
We knew.
Whoa.
The only other
to your
argument
voice.
that Oliver really makes, again in a 20-minute video, I encourage you watch all of it, then come back and fact check me. Tell me if I'm being dishonest. It was really hard to find anything substantial. The only other argument that he makes is that America has a problem with deeply undemocratic institutions. Here you go.
There is a whole system underneath them that has enabled them to do what they have done. And that brings us to the second major factor that got us to where we are now, the deeply undemocratic nature of America's institutions. And that has led some to suggest taking the more dramatic step of expanding the Supreme Court by adding justices. There are some other steps we could take that should be impossible to argue with at this point. Steps that would make both the Senate and White House more representative of the electorate. On the Senate side, you could grant statehood to Washington, D.C. and, if voters there want it, Puerto Rico. We have to get rid of the Electoral College, which might sound radical, but it really isn't. It's not even a new idea.
No, court packing, adding Puerto Rico and abolishing the Electoral College sounds like the pottery. Mr. Pottery sounds like the party of moderates.
Yeah.
This is absolutely, when people say, oh, hold on a second, when you talk, there's common ground. Where are you going to find common ground with a guy who believes that we need to abolish the Electoral College, pack the Supreme Court, and fundamentally change? He hasn't watched Schoolhouse Rock. He doesn't understand the three branches of government. What are the three branches? Can everyone name them? Executive, judicial,
Retributive.
What did you say?
I don't know.
legislative. But the point is, the presidency and the House, the Senate, these are meant to be more fluid. That's why they change. They haven't been very fluid because the Senate majority has been expanded for, I believe, the last 3 midterms, and that's why she's going to be confirmed, you dip poops. So,
got him.
I'm trying to clean it up.
Got him, yeah. That was
Nailed him.
That was
Queen
good.
nailed him. It's about,
I like it, yeah.
It's about as sharp as his points.
Right. I think I can boil down his Supreme Court nomination argument. We don't like the people that you're putting on the court, and so we're just going to add enough people into our opinion. Well, hold on, but then it goes back. Well, okay, well then let's play by those rules. Well, we don't like what you've done, so we're going to have 700 people in the Supreme Court at some point because they're just going to keep adding until you get the majority you want.
And just because it's not a new idea doesn't mean it's a good idea. Right. There are lots of old ideas that are very bad.
This is not
been
something
hanging around
that has
for a
been
while.
mainstream in the Republican Party at all. When you talk about people who want to erode trust in institutions, do you realize that if, let's assume libraries were still around, they're not because, they still use Bing. But if you could go to a library, let's say, for some reason, some nuclear holocaust, all of your iPhones, or they just got infected from all the pornography that 16-year-olds are watching now, which just is very disheartening. So you could go to a library and say, hey, I want to check American history.
Yeah.
Let's say, oh, okay, yeah, I would like to know about the Democratic Party in the 21st century and the filibuster. Was it the Democrats who were pro or anti-filibuster? Hold on a second. Which year? No, wait, I'm sorry. Which quarter? It's
really
not even
depends.
close. We're for it,
Yes.
we're against it, we're for it, we're against it. No mainstream Republican movement has included court packing.
No.
As long as I have been around. This is what happens right now. Same with the Electoral College. Now they're kind of becoming one note and that they just want to do away with it. But they don't understand the fundamental roles of government. You elect a president every 4 years or re-elect a president. You have elections on senates and members of the on the senators and members of the House. The court is a permanent position.
Yeah.
That's something that people, it's not meant to change because it's meant to be a check against fluid other forms of government. That is also why this isn't hard to understand. I don't know why Republicans have been making the wrong argument where they're talking about it. Well, it's different because an election year and Merrick Garland. Okay, no. Look, this is really simple. Okay. Did Barack Obama nominate a Supreme Court justice? Yes,
he
Merrick
did.
Garland. Did the Senate confirm it? No, it was a Republican Senate. Okay. Did Donald Trump nominate a Supreme Court justice? Yes. Can the Senate confirm it? Yes, Republican Senate. It's that simple.
Yeah.
They both have authority. Obama used his authority to nominate. The Senate uses authority to reject.
Yeah.
Donald Trump is using his authority to nominate. The Senate is going to use their authority to make your life a living hell.
Right. And the people have already spoken on this. That's the argument being used right now. The people need to have the voice in this. They did. In 2016, they voted for a president. And in 2018, they kept the majority of the Senate in his party.
Right.
And that was supposed to be 4 years. And that was supposed to be for them that 2-year period until we have another election.
Right.
They've already spoken. It's like getting halfway there and going, well, we don't like what you said previously. We want to wait and see if you change your mind in the future.
And Joe Biden said something about like that we have to do this. We have to wait to appoint somebody so that we can preserve the democracy. But the Supreme Court is not a democratic institution.
Well, he also said this
not.
never happened before in the history of our country.
not true at all.
Not true at all.
It happened every time.
Oh. Oh, well.
Which time? All of them.
All of
you
them.
can go back 180 years, right? Rip Van Winkle, why don't you tell me?
Including in your term as vice president, you moron. It wasn't that long ago.
That's not something I've ever heard of. We know. We know that, Joe.
Yeah.
It's happened every time, but it hasn't always been confirmed, especially when it's a split government. When it's not a split government, okay, it happens. It's just remarkable to me when people try and all of a sudden act like they are legal. I'm not a legal scholar. I can just go through okay. Did a president nominate a Supreme Court judge in an election? Yeah, okay. Was it confirmed? Oh, no, almost all the times.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. When this happened, I was like, okay, that's a valid argument. Let's see if that's true.
I should just collect another 6-figure paycheck from Oliver or CNN because I could do the fact checking that they refuse to do.
You could be their entire department.
But then I'd have to pay taxes. As a business owner, I leave the bill to you. So
and they wouldn't be able to do their shows anymore.
They wouldn't be able to do their shows anymore.
With all the fact checking.
Can we fact check how many times Donald Trump, straight Stelter speaking, how many times Donald Trump used the word ballot? Sure, I can use it, but I'll give you some context. No.
Please, no. I'm good.
What are you doing, an impression of Xena? No. Is that a gay Xena? Straight.
There is no straight Xena.
I'm confused by your war cry, Mr. Stelter. It really is. It's just remarkable to me that this is what I don't want to say. You know what? I don't know why I'm saying that. It's not remarkable. It's not remarkable at all. It is entirely par for the course.
It is. And everything. I mean, look, if you can convince yourself that Trump is a threat to democracy, then of course you're going to believe every conspiracy theory about how he is going to stay in office until he's 7,500 years old, like Joe Biden, right? You can make yourself believe that everything is a threat. He's not going to leave office peacefully and that his taxes, the only reason, you know what they're saying?
Yeah.
They're saying that $431 million are coming due in the next 4 years, and that's going to leave him open to foreign powers being able to dictate what he does.
Plus, if you want to have a child, he makes you spin yarn into gold. They have a... They're talking about Donald Trump right now. Like, Tax Info raises questions. Let's bring this up on CNN really quickly. Do you have the audio there for CNN?
Trump said in 2017,
raises questions about whether Trump broke the law. Still haven't seen a story about Hunter Biden receiving millions from the Moscow mayor's wife and using them for sex slaves. I'll tell you what, listen.
That wouldn't show up on his returns,
maybe Donald Trump, you don't know.
He wrote it off.
Who knows?
I thought a sex slave was a write-off.
For personal wellness.
Come on, it's business.
Work is stressful. It's stress relief. I can write off my gym membership. I can write off a haircut. I appear on air. I can't write off a sex slave or two. Prude. So, think about this for a second. Like, has Donald Trump broken the law? Listen, there may be loopholes. You can audit a ham sandwich and you can find something wrong, right? This is an issue, and Donald Trump is being audited right now, and that's why he said that he hasn't released his tax returns. And it doesn't mean that there's a law about that, but it would be imprudent. I'm sure your lawyer would say, don't release the tax returns to the public until your audit is done. However, we had proof of Hunter Biden with Burisma getting this money, getting this influential position in an energy company for which he had no qualifications because his father abused his position of power. And then we have him getting money directly from the mayor of Moscow's wife and using it for sex slaves. Where's the Chiron, CNN?
Yeah.
Can you give me a lower third? Give me a lower eighth
No.
that just reads Hunter Biden's sex slaves. And I understand you'll say, well, the amount is insignificant. Well, we don't really know the amount.
Sure.
It could. Was it the entire 3.5 million, where he just took it like a gift card to Dave and Buster's, and he was just in sex slave heaven with appetizers and prostitutes? I have no idea. But that's because you're not doing your job.
No.
That's why we don't know. And I would also say that, listen, even if the unpaid amount in taxes because someone was using a loophole, or, for example, maybe basing their primary residence in Florida as opposed to New York, despite the fact that they spent like 6 months and 2 days in New York City, I would still say that the most egregious sins on that tax evasion is not as bad as any dollars that go to underage sex slaves.
Right.
Yeah.
I would say $1 to sex slaves is $1 too, but that's just me. I'm not afraid to take a risky position. You know what? I'll put myself out there. I know. You know what? I know this isn't going to be popular.
Okay.
I know everyone's going to agree with this.
Yeah.
But I'm anti unsolicited sex slaves.
Are you anti being able to write it off as well?
I am anti sex traffic rings with slaves. I know. Listen.
It's wild.
Close the loophole.
I know that it's not popular. Okay. I know that not everyone's going to be cool with it, but it's okay. That's just me, man. I thrive on confrontation. I am anti-sex slave, and that is why I have an issue with the Bidens. So we are going to go to speaking of non-sex slave scandal-ridden politicians. Which really, let's be honest, if you have like a Venn diagram, okay, you have non-sex slave riddled politicians, and really it's just another circle of the Bidens, and that's 100%.
Oh.
So it's just separate circles at that point.
Okay.
Barney Frank, I'm not exactly sure what the basement. I think it was more sex slave role playing. The point is we're going to talk about another non-sex slave tarred politician with Amy Coney Barrett, who might actually be our next Supreme Court justice. And we'll be reading your chats. YouTube, you know what? I'm through. Again, might not be popular. I'm not a huge fan of YouTube piss off.